Hello, good day, everyone. Welcome to our movie English. Today, our topic is the senses. So, talking about senses, we come up with five major senses that human beings have. So, we can see, we can smell, we can taste, and we can touch as well as we can hear. So these kind of five senses are very commonly used in daily life. In our first slide, we are going to look at the methods of communication. So methods mean the means, the ways that we use to communicate. So looking at the slide, we come up with the first item, which is speaking. So speaking, to speak is a kind of daily life for most of people. And number two, which is related to speaking, you probably come up shouting. So shouting is by raising your voice. So shouting, to shout, is the other way of communicate. So why do we shout? So shouting for different purposes. Number one, to express our anger, or to express or show our excitement. Of course, to call for attention or send our attention warning signs to other people by raising our voice. And number three, we come up with writing. So writing, right? Do you have the ideas of we use the pen to write, right? Well, you might say, well, sometimes writing, well, including this sending message, for instance, or sending emails or very informal chat with someone else, right? Not ignores that traditional ways of writing letters, right, to someone who live in very far away place, whereas the internet is impossible to get access to, right? So, or writing on the small memo paper, right? And number four, I provide the means of communication, which is using our body language to express the things that I want to tell you, okay? Or I want you pay attention on. So that's to emphasize my points, right? And you come up with any others, let me know, right? And very much that by end of these lessons, you will come up with other methods, right? And you can tell me, right? In this slide, we are going to look at vocabulary and the keywords. So our first item is deaf. Deaf can be a noun, can be an adjective, right? So for an adjective, we say a person is deaf, meaning the person has hearing difficulties. The person probably cannot hear completely and to some degrees of hearing level. We have the second one called hearing aid. So if people who have hearing problems, they probably will install some device, right, into their ear channel. It could be one side, it could be two sides, right? So to help them to receive the stimulus from outside of word, right? So to emphasize the strength or emphasize the loudness of the stimuli. And number three, we have the word called advocate. So advocate is a verb, meaning to publicly support or to suggest an idea. Say, for instance, I suggest you to go fetch that flag here and then put it on the wall, so that I publicly suggest that you to do something. So it's advocate. And finally, we have sign language. Am I going to demonstrate a sign language? I don't think I can, right? So sign language is a kind of language that side usually among that deaf community, right? Next, we are going to look at the questions that I impose you, right, is what do you think the movie that I'm going to show you later on, which is called The Silent Child, is about? So think about the title of The Silent Child, okay? So you might say, well, child, so you know the story might be related to a child. That's right. And then there's an adjective, right? The silence, right? We have the adjective called silent to modify child, meaning, right, it could be quiet, right? It could be just not utters any sound, speechless, for instance, right? So tell me, what do you think about that silent child about, right? So I am going to invite you, right, to write your answers in the chatting part. So you let me know, right? So I'm going to demonstrate you how to write your answer. So remember, online teaching, I don't know who you are, right? So, and this question is pretty short, so I cannot really invite you to talk. However, I would like to collect your information first, and then later we can discuss about what your answers are. All right, so I am going to invite you to write down your Chinese English name. Right, so it's your English name, so very simple. My name is Hofa, so I type Hofa, right? And use 2 sentences to talk about the silent child. So I think the movie is about a child who is silent all the time, who doesn't like to talk most of the time. So 2 sentences, okay? And besides, also please provide your English name. Right, next we are going to look at the cast and the director of the movie The Silent Child. So we are going to look at, from this slide you can see, right, the figures. There's pictures of the directors, the screenwriter, and the main characters in the movie. So we have Rachel Shenton, who is the screenwriter. So you see the woman who is on your right, okay? So she is also the actress acting social worker role in this short film. And then we have the directors on your left. So his name is Chris Offerton, right? So Chris Offerton is the director. And in between them is this very cute actress, very young actress. She plays the roles of Libby in the short film. Okay. So that's about, right, more information about the film, as The Silent Child was nominated, right? So was suggested for the Academy's Award for Best Live Action Short Movie and won in 2018. So it's really worth watching, right? In many different reasons, it's very informative, it's very educational, and very inspiring, and very heartwarming, right? It's a very warm-hearted films that almost that you think about what exactly love is and care about. So in our life, we love a lot of things, a lot of people, we care about our people and things as well. But do we show them? Right. Sometimes we hide our emotions, right? And after watching these films, after having this class, you probably have to think about, should I hide them, right? why I would like to hide my feelings, or should I let go about my feeling and show my emotions and my support, my cares and love to people who I really love and care. Okay, so this is a very important message that I would like you to know. All right, so next I am going to impose use another thinking questions, which is, do you think deafness is a learning difficulty? One more time. Do you think deafness, right, meanings of that relating to the deaf, is a kind of learning difficulty? So here's think about this question, and I would like you to leave the comments or your answers in the chat-in area too, right? Again, you are going to write down your English name. So you say Hofa, all right? And I don't think, right? So this is only example, okay? I don't think deafness is a learning difficulty, because they are two different things, right? Learning difficulties mean this, and deafness means the other things. However, they might have some correlation, right? So these important information, please let me know. And I am going to invite you to think about the differences, right? So before you answer these questions, it might be a good idea to think about these individual things and see if they have any correlation, right? And you can talk about it. Don't write too much, right? So in this point of time, I am going to invite you to only spot the major relationship between them. Okay. Right, so we have already talked about the keywords of this movie. Yes, so remember, so we have deaf people relating to people who have hearing problems or difficulties. And then we have hearing aid, meanings, right, a kind of device that put into our ear channels to help the deaf communities, people who belong to deaf communities, to hear better. We have number 3 keyword, advocate, meaning to publicly to support or to suggest an idea. We have number 4 that we call sign language. So in the film that's called The Silent Child, in these films you will see the signers. So in these films, there are 2 signers, right? One is Libby, this Mrs. Slides, who acts the little girl who is only 4 years old in these films, who signed, and the other one is the social workers joined, who plays the roles of connecting with this child, and probably it's the only windows for this child to communicate the world. Okay, I am not going to talk too much, right? So I would like you to have this kind of packs to put in your head to help you to understand the films. And later on, we will look at the following developmental topics, and there's a point to connect the films and the lessons that I am aiming to teach you and to share with you, right? If not teaching, right? I think the most important things that you have already known. So it's more about to evoke your attentions onto these topics, because they are very important in our life to almost like be able to express yourself, be able to express your cares and love with people who we cares and love, beloved ones. Okay, so here we go. So we are going to look at these films, right? So in this demo, I'm not going to really do it, right? But I provide the links here, right? So this is our lesson, but it's my demonstrations about, right? So, okay, so we mentioned that you have already watched this film. Okay, right? So we have this, the next slide we call storyline. So storylines is the information that I'm going to give you. Okay, so here's in this stories, in this slide, I am telling you that in this our protagonist, meaning the main characters in the story or in the dramas, movies, right? Or you say main characters. One of the main characters is Libby. So Libby is a deaf, right? Here's my slides written 9-year-old girl. In fact, right? This resources tells me she is 4 in this movie. So this is a typo, right? Meaning I type wrongly. So the information should be 4, right? So Libby is a deaf 4-year-old girl who lives in a world of silence, meaning when he sees people, its national sounds goes into her ears, right? Pretty sad, right? So I want you keep that feelings, right? Besides to have this kind of empathies, what are the things that we can do to make the things better? Sometimes we agonized because we listen to someone's misfortunes, but is there some other things that we can do? I'm telling you, yes, there are definitely something that we can do to make this world better, right? That's the getter, right? So number 2, right? So let's come back to the storyline. So number 2, at home. Her parents are very busy. So just like in the films you watched, that both Sue, her mother, and Paul, her father, were very busy. They were doing probably business people, so they are very busy. And Libby has 2 siblings, 1 brother and 1 sister. They are very busy doing academic work too. So they were about to take exams, right? Which is probably very similar to your like university entrance exams in Taiwan. So as you can see, is that everybody is on the track of a busy schedule. Point 3, Libby does not receive much attention from her family. That is not until the social worker Joanne, right, comes to teach her how to communicate. And you say it's pretty sad, right? People who, this person, Libby, who has to constantly live in the silent world for nearly 4 years. Sometimes I don't like my surroundings noise, because the place where I live is very noisy. You know, the diggers, the cranes, the big trucks or heavy motorcyclists, boom, 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 boom. Right, so I constantly agonize this noisy surrounding. But think about, right, if a person who cannot hear or constantly live in a very silent environment, a person cannot even receive the essential information. So, well, okay, let's come back to our track and focus at the points that I would like to make, which is point 4. So very sad, unfortunately, the mother decides that to send Libby back to the school, right? And you might say, well, that is good, right? But remember, the mother is going to send Libby back to the normal school where speaking is the major communication meaning she will still constantly live in the silent world. Okay, so here I'm going to ask you the 3rd question, but you don't need to write down the answer in the chatting area, but you need to think about this, okay? To be able to send your child to what so-called a normal school, because you don't want people judge your child, right? So you think that is good, isn't it? Right? You don't want your child to stand out, to be recognized as a very special person, as in this case, the mother might think it's a very negative, right, association between, silence, unable to hear, right, and to her own daughter. So think about this. So think about, is it a good choice to send Libby back to the mainstream school? Okay, we better hurry up. So after this movie, we're going to share some important information that we have learned, the message behind the scenes and behind this project, this movie. What are the important points that these screenwriters, Shantans, would like to let us know? So there are 4 major points. The first point is, I have learned that in England, remember this this film is made in England, a rural area. In fact, it's a very rich family, right? So the movie portrays a very rich families, right? The film is taken in England, right? And so I have learned in England, 90% of deaf children are born to hearing parents. So that is the case happens in England, right? Remember, right? That will be case by case. So our case for today is 90% of deaf children are born to hearing parents, meaning these deaf children, their parents could hear. Okay. And number 2, just like in our movie. So number 2, over 78% of deaf children attend mainstream school with no special support in place. So that is early on I mentioned about, right? So when Libby is sent to the mainstream school, she will be sitting with her friends, her classmates who can speak and who can hear each other's, right, except her, right? And also the communication between teachers and Libby will be almost zero. Okay, so think about that. So number 3, deafness is not a learning difficulty. So here we go, right? So here's mirrors the questions that earlier on I asked you. The second question is deafness a learning difficulty? So we got the answer. It's not, right? So with the right support, a deaf child can do exactly the same as the hearing child. So how positive this information is, right? So you might come up with, yes, right? You might argue that there are some correlations between this kind of deafness and the learning difficulty, because if in the beginning when the deafness occurs, that the person probably cannot have any proper means to express their feelings, so there will be no outlet of expression, a person's thoughts. Okay, so this is very important. It's almost like the person is locked inside a chamber. Okay, right. Our final point is the films contributes to the fight for sign language. So the movies want us to know that for these hearing difficulties people, the only way or the one of very positive helping way is for them to learn sign language, so they can communicate with each other. They can express their feelings and their thoughts. This is a very important way, right? So language, one of very important functions of language or languages is communicate, right? So even though that is not the only one reason, but okay. So the movies try to contribute to fight for sign language to be recognized in every school across the globe. So it's very important. Later on, I will also show you a very good music which is signed through sign language, right? Which is, oh, I forgot to tell you, the sign language that you see in today's movie, The Silent Child, and later on the song is all signed in British Sign Language, right? So you might say, what? Are there differences between the sign languages? Yes, right, there are differences, right? Such as there are Chinese, Mandarins, Chinese, they are Taiwanese Chinese, they are English, German, Dutch, French, Spanish, Italians. They are different languages in spoken languages, right? And so as these sign languages. So today we are mainly looking at that British Sign Language, which will be used in Britain, right? Great Britain and this its own colonies areas. So we have a small things I would like you to do, right? So by looking at these words shown in this slide, you look at those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 words, right? Some words you probably know, some words you have no clue about, but it doesn't matter, right? So I am going to read out those words, right? So you're going to match about silence, right? So which words shown on this slide has the same meaning of silence or similar meanings, if not exactly the same? Okay, very likely there will be degrees difference. Okay, so our first word is articulate. Articulate. Number 2, we have dumb. Dumb. Number 3, eloquent. Eloquent. Number 4, we have mum. Mum. Number 5, we have mute. Mute. And number 6, we have outspoken. Outspoken. We have next one, speechless. Speechless. We have 8, sulky. Sulky. And we have silver-tongued. Silver-tongued. Ooh, we have 11 words, which is wordless. Wordless. So here, another mistake I had, which is, right, there are 11 words, not 10, right? So you are going to tell me the words which have the same meanings or very similar meanings with the words of silent. Okay, so and I would like you to write down, right? Same, leave the message there in the chatting areas, right? And tell me that which words have the similar meanings with silent. Similar, okay? Similar. Okay. Right, so I'm going to give you 1 minute to do this, right? Well, I say the 1 minute, that means I'm going to wait for 1 minute because this is my demo. So I have to keep going. So let's imagine 1 minute has passed. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, right, so we have the words. Okay, so we have words here that I didn't do anything right? So this must be the same words that as the earlier. So I'm going to mark it the right words which have the similar meanings of with silence. Say we have dump. So dump. We have dump. We have mum. We have next one called mute. Mute. We have speechless. Speechless. We have sulky. Sulky. Well, what is sulky? Sometimes if you are very angry for some reasons, right? When you were young, for instance, right? When you are young, if you want to play Legos or online games, but your mom might tell you that, do your homework first, right? And you probably know you need to do homework. However, you are just not happy about this advocate by your mom, right? So you might be a little bit angry or not pleased about her decision. So you keep quiet, because of your anger or your unpleasant feelings about this. So that's what we call sulky. Okay, that's what we call sulky. And finally, we have wordless, meaning no words. So less meaning no, right? So wordless. So those are the words. Have you got them right? Right. So if you haven't got them right, that's all right. That's all right, because there are different ways of learning, right? However, there are some very important words I would like to introduce you as well. So at the first, that we have the word called articulate, meaning like to utter the sound, or often is like through the words that you utters from your vocal tract here. Okay, so you use your vocal tract to utter, to pronounce the sounds. Okay, articulate. We have eloquent, meaning the person who can express using words very well and express well, fluently and accurately. Then we have the words called outspoken. Outspoken, meaning the same things that you talk, the person delivers a talk very well. Right, and finally we have the word called silver-tongued. So tongue with ed, right? We make these words an adjective. Okay, silver means a kind of that. Let's say, I have a jewelry, right? A ring that is the material, made of material of silver. So silver-tongued means, imagine that your tongues is made of silver, right? So means that you can speak very well, right? So here we are going to hurry up. So the next one I'm going to introduce is about a sign, songs, right? So same for festival words, right? Because I did not really control my time very well, right? So that is about partially about my demos, about what am I going to teach, or some of the you might be able to glimpse my teaching style. Well, this is the only demonstrations that you can see, right? And it's my pleasure here to provide my demonstration. My name is Hofa. So thank you very much for your time and your attention, right? Have a nice day and see you next time.